Welcome to Rev Shots, your weekly dose of quick hit wisdom, where we tackle the most pressing topics of the day for ourselves and our revenue teams. Our show features expert guests with decades of experience. We delve into what works and why, sharing tools to be unapologetically successful, from making our number to delighting our clients. If you're ready to boost your knowledge in under 30 minutes on a weekly basis, tune in. Follow me on LinkedIn or join our mailing list to stay updated on our latest features. Hello, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Friday. And believe it or not, we are on episode number 54 of Rev Shots. And I am your host, Dion Major. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm really excited that we have Nick from Sirion with us today. Nick, thank you for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Congratulations on so many episodes.
Yeah. It's going well. And you had joined us previously. And if I was a better prepared host, I would know which episode that was. But I know you had joined us previously with Joe from Amplify 10.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Thank you. And thank you for having us. So tell us a little bit about you and your background and where you're at today with Sirion.
Yeah, so Sirion, I've been with the company for a little over 2 years now. I was brought on to oversee the enablement efforts of the organization, from all the way from sales to pre-sales to our SDR organization to CS. Being such a small team, we haven't been able to put as much focus on all those areas as we would have liked to, but.
Yeah.
And the stage that Sirion is at, we're moving so fast and things are changing all the time. So yeah, just trying to stay afloat, and currently planning for our upcoming sales kickoff that's coming up in a couple months.
Yes.
Which I'm sure every enablement practitioner leader out there can empathize with as it relates to this time of year. So
Absolutely. I was just with an organization with their growth kickoff this week. And so today is kind of the first day back. So hence if I was more prepared, I would. Well, and we were talking before we went live, where is your kickoff this year?
Yeah, we're planning for our kickoff to be in Greece this year, in Athens, Greece. So it could be a really cool backdrop. I've never been, so hopefully we can do some cool, team building, collaboration stuff with the backdrop of a really cool European city.
It sounds amazing. So yeah, we were talking, a friend of mine has gone to Greece a few times and loves it. So I think you're going to have an amazing time. So for everybody listening, if you want to go to Greece, you should get with Nick, and I'm sure Sirion is hiring. So maybe, I don't know. Well, tell us a little bit about your team. Like, how large is your team? And it certainly is tricky to enable an entire organization when our teams are maybe 3 or 4. Right. So tell us a little bit about the makeup of your team, and then we're going to dive into the question we ask all of our guests.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, our team is very, very lean and small. So it was just me for a long time, and I've now doubled in size. So we're a strong 2. Hoping to grow that by at least 1 more in our next fiscal. But yeah, I mean, moving this kind of shift from sales enablement to revenue enablement requires more, subject matter expertise, and people who are smarter than me, who have done, who have enabled or have been on the front lines of, for example, customer success and, the post-sale experience. And, it's challenging. And I know there's a lot of solo practitioner leaders out there who are trying to do a lot of the same types of things. So kudos to all of you for making those efforts. But yeah, that's what our team looks like today. And we have such a great cross-functional alignment with with different departments that I feel like even though the quote unquote enablement team is really small, we have such a large group of supporters who all have vested interest in enablement being successful. So I consider them very, very strong team members as it relates to enablement. even though on paper it might not be that way.
Yeah, I think that's a really important topic too, Nick, and we'll talk about maybe that on another episode, right? But it's almost like you're building your influencer community, right? When you are a lean team like that. So congratulations for that, because that I think that's the key word for 2025 is collaboration.
Yeah.
And it is so needed in, I think, especially in the world we live in today, where organizations have pockets of expertise and we're truly playing chess and not checkers anymore. It's a lot we're having to talk with the different teams we have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
not
And you know, that when I came into the organization, there was, you know, I kept hearing from different people like about this tribal knowledge. You know, everybody has there's so many experts, and the longer I've been here, the more I found that there's so many people in this organization who are so incredibly intelligent and talented, and nobody ever gets to hear from them.
Yeah.
And, you know, except for a very small select few. And so, you know, one of my initiatives has been, you know, how do we extract that information and turn it into consumable content that the entire global team can benefit from, you know, get it out of the heads and into the minds of everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is amazing. Have you heard of, to that point, because I love talking about challenges and opportunities, right? Have you heard of Notebook LM?
Oh my gosh, I use Notebook LM all the time.
Right. So are you using that internally to kind of turn that tribal knowledge into podcasts for people?
Well, I haven't used the podcast feature yet. I was just introduced to the podcast element of it just recently. I've been using it a little bit differently to collate like big like different files, like big folders of files, and making sense of it. More specifically as it relates to like call transcripts and stuff.
That makes sense.
But yeah, the podcast element, I need to start using that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, right. I just heard about that one today or this week. So I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of fun." So to that point, tell us a little bit about, and I think this question has a duality to it for you, I think. So, the question we ask everybody is, what is the number one topic you're hearing right now in your conversations? And maybe this is internal, and maybe if you're talking with your colleagues, kind of what are you hearing right now in your conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know, one of the things that's really been on my mind, in fact, I had a at-depth conversation with my CRO about it in terms of kind of the future of enablement and where how I want to kind of pivot a little bit coming into this new fiscal. But you know, one thing I'm hearing, and it's not anything new, I don't think, but it's definitely a shift in mindset for sure, because it centers around the idea of on like creating broad on-demand content for audiences to consume and calling it enablement versus creating environments, live environments for questions for the participants to be able to ask questions, and then following it up with some sort of measurement strategy. So what I mean by that is, I think like the way the shift that I see happening, and I'd be curious to hear from other enablement practitioners in this space, but one big shift that I'm hearing is a little bit of a move away from these on-demand style courses and quick updates, and moving away from like asking sellers to sit in their seat and consume 20 to 30 minutes a piece of this recorded content, videos and PowerPoints and stuff, and moving more to a framework where we're able to structure those sessions to be in a live environment where questions can be asked and things can be clarified, and then following that up with a sort of measurement strategy. And really it what it boils down to is just like understanding where the reps are in their own kind of skills and competency journey. So not making because what could be really relevant for one person in one region might not be as relevant for another seller in a completely different region. And so like how can we as enablement make the enablement more tailored for the journey that those individual sellers are on?
Mm-hmm.
It's not always creating, broad, just, painting a broad stroke of like, here's a topic that because there's one or two sellers that are maybe struggling with this or need
Right.
enablement on this, we're going to make everybody do it. We're going to keep everybody accountable for it. That might not be the case. So, and AI is of course,
Everywhere.
we can't have this conversation without without talking a little bit about how AI influences this. But I think there's a lot to be said about how AI is going to help enablement leaders, kind of automate these tailored learning paths and journeys for the sellers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I definitely hear that coming up more and more and more because I think if I had to take a step back a little bit too, Nick, it's as adults, we learn by doing. We're all kinesthetic learners. I think how we consume to get to a baseline might be a little bit different. I don't like videos. I don't like videos. I feel like I'm held hostage, right? So my poor kids are like, Mom, watch this video. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm probably like literally the one person on the planet. But do we have videos? Do we have an audio book? Do we have whatever, right? So I think there's a stratification of how are folks consuming? What is their learning style? And then we only learn really when we're doing. So what does it look like to take action? So if I had to theme it out, that's a lot of what I'm hearing too.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, as you're having that conversation with your CRO, kind of where are you at in that journey of almost deploying like these snack size, I call it reels of reinforcement of like
Yeah.
snack size consumable learning on demand almost. Kind of what are you all thinking for that?
Yeah, I think one of the keys that we're looking at to make this successful is tailoring the enablement for specific need. And it's not going to be feasible probably for much larger organizations. I mean, we're pretty small and scrappy, so we can do it. But
Yeah.
Baselining with a competency model that helps us understand like where the individual needs are. And then, one of my primary goals for this upcoming fiscal year is, I've always realized and understood the importance of the frontline manager,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but my focus this upcoming fiscal really is to focus on
Mhm.
what it means to collaborate with them and
Mhm.
have them be more of the kind of arbiters and coaches of the enablement.
Mhm.
And me as my role being like, building the strategy and making the content available, making the paths, making the paths very clear. Um,
Mhm.
but collaborating closely with the frontline managers on what those specific needs are. So that's one big shift that I think we're going to be making.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like I said, everyone's moving so fast, and it's like here's
Mhm.
a need, let's plug this hole, let's fill the need, let's create a video, let's create a course, here and there. But if we're looking at kind of what does it mean to have kind of like an ideal rep profile in terms of competencies and skills, how are each of the individual sellers tracking towards that? And the frontline managers, in my opinion, are going to be the best, not only the best coaches, but also the best evaluators.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you, like, so it sounds like you're baselining on a competency matrix or skills matrix, right? And so talk a little bit about that. When did you put that in? How is that kind of being managed? And what are you hearing from the users of that, right? Is it giving them the clarity they need to know what they need to do to be successful in their role?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is kind of round two that I'll be doing this school. So I did a round one, maybe 18 months or so
Yeah.
back. And it's in my experience, what I've seen is a lot of these sellers don't realize or don't, they've never really taken the time or been given an assessment to help them kind of realize and facilitate the fact that, like, oh, there may be areas. I mean, even the most tenured sellers, who, the old, kind of the old crew that's been doing it for forever, and kind of stuck in their ways a little bit. Even having them take a step back and looking at how they're faring against these different competencies and skills areas. And it's not what I find with the more tenured ones is a lot of it has to do with hard skills versus soft skills.
Interesting.
They want things, they want to be enabled by the subject matter experts in the business that are focused on very specific things, as opposed to more softer skills like help me with discovery or help me with communication, because they tend to have that stuff down pretty well. But without assessing, we just don't know. And because we have now we're starting to build out an SMB function. We have a mid-market function. Enterprise is definitely our largest. But the skills across those different functions are, they vary quite a bit. So
there's probably some overarching themes, right? Like you all need to do discovery. The depth and level of that is going to be different, SMB to enterprise.
Exactly. The types of questions, the even the role, even down to the people that you're talking to, like what they care about most. And we just rolled out a sales methodology, which has been really great to kind of help level set on a lot of people. But we still have a lot of work to do.
Well, congratulations on the sales methodology. And how is that going?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the thick of it right now. So we just rolled out our North America workshop. We're getting ready to do our international workshop where the facilitators come in and do a lot of the enablement stuff. So anyways, I'm working on the reinforcement and measuring strategy now that make sure that my CEO can see the ROI that we're getting.
Right. So it's interesting. I agree with you. Talk a little bit more about that measurement strategy, because I think there's always leading and lagging folks, right? It's just the arc of implementation, adoption, and all that good stuff. So talk a little bit more about kind of how are you measuring your enablement efforts?
It's funny you bring up Notebook LM, because I'm actually leveraging that as a way to measure, at least from the initial rollout of our methodology, but also for other initiatives too. There's vendors out there who have these like initiative boards or initiative pages where you can start measuring the impact of different enablement initiatives. So whether it's methodology or qualification or product rollout or release or whatever. I don't have the luxury of having that type of technology at my disposal. So I'm doing it a little bit more manual, but one of the things that I'm using as a lever right now to kind of get an idea on how those are going is uploading call transcripts of discovery calls. So I'll take a specific time period, for example. I'll upload 10, we'll say 10 discovery calls into Notebook LM. Transcripts, give it a prompt based on what I'm trying to evaluate. In this case, it's our sales methodology. Since we've rolled this out, how are the reps adhering to this framework that they've just been enabled around asking effective diagnostic questions in their discovery. And what the AI is able to comb through all 10 or 15 or 20 of those transcripts and find the structure for me, and then I can start putting that into a type of scorecard, and then that's something that I can literally hand deliver to the frontline sales manager and say, hey, we're looking at the effectiveness of our methodology rollout on a rep by rep basis. Here's a coaching scorecard that you can start with. If you don't agree with some of this, like, let's have a conversation, but it's all coming directly from their calls. So that's an important way that I think is, I mean, I was just talking to someone the other day. I don't understand. I don't know how enablement teams can do their job without a call, some kind of call recorder. Because I mean that's really where like the rubber meets the road with all of our enablement, right? Is it translating into their ability to talk to prospects?
Yeah, into their conversations for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you're talking with your managers, I think that's a really interesting shift as well, where regardless of the org structure, right? You might have managers, directors, VPs, whatever the case may be. I think in this case for your managers, were they open to learning how to coach, or kind of how did you bring them up to speed as well with that? Because sometimes we need to have those important conversations. We don't always know how.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you need you to be willing to have this conversation. And now we're going to like teach you how to be a coach. Right. So how did you kind of get your managers there?
Yeah. Well, I'll say it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. I think it will be, right? It's a little bit new for folks. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that, that I have any level of expertise in that area, but what I do think is important is helping the frontline managers see how those skills will translate into revenue.
Yep.
And helping them understand, like, I was at an organization where the CRO put coaching as a requirement for frontline manager MBOs. so either they coached or they didn't get paid.
There you go.
That's one way to enforce it.
It is. It's true. It's true.
I mean, it's how effective it was, I don't know. I mean, I think it turned into more of a, kind of a check the box exercise so I could get paid. But I think helping the frontline managers realize, how these skills will help develop into the areas that they're measured against, right? Which is, obviously revenue is number one, but there's other areas too, like conversion, win-loss percentage, ACV,
Yep.
all these different things. And when we're able to kind of start building these like stemmed, trees off of these different KPIs and saying, well, what skills, what outputs, what competencies are necessary to achieve these things, then I think it becomes a much more compelling thing for the frontline managers to want to do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, right? Directly translating it is always helpful, right? Because we would definitely want our revenue teams to be focused on achievement of goals, right? From a revenue perspective. So I'm not going to say coin operated because I'm kind of over that phrase, but yes, right. Yeah. I agree with you. I know in some of the workshop that I do with folks, we talk about the very first thing is the 10 irrefutable laws of being a sales professional or a revenue professional. And so many people come back, Nick, and they go, I never considered myself to be a professional. Mm-hmm. I'm just insert here. And I said, but just is a diminutive word. And the thing is that when we view ourselves in a different light, it changes our confidence and it changes our mindset that I know as a professional, pick your professional, whether it's an NFL player, a basketball player, whoever, right? Simone Biles, you look at their work ethic, you look at their professionalism, and they're open to that coaching. They're open to that, which kind of shifts everybody's mindset to, I need feedback. Maybe I don't need to be bludgeoned over the head with it, right? So here's how I need to get that feedback. But I think to what I hear you saying is it's that shift of, if we consider ourselves to be professionals, every professional gets coaching. Here's how we're doing this. And oh, by the way, here are the long-term effects of what you're going to experience and see and grow, both quantitatively and qualitatively, going down this path.
Yeah. You said it. You said it in a much more profound way than I was able to. but yeah.
No, I think it's all good. I kind of go that way, right? But I love how you were saying it. So say more a little bit about how some of the success stories you're seeing in your organization as managers embrace this role of coaching, and then you're seeing some of your revenue professionals really start to shine.
Yeah. Well, I think just being able to look at patterns and historical and just look at, like, historical trends, I think makes both sales reps and managers. I think it kind of gives them a different insight into how they view their own skills and competency progression. Because and I'm sure this is the case for you and many others, but some of the best, most successful sales reps are the ones that are coachable, and they're very self-aware and know that they have gaps, and they're and they're willing to to take the time to really understand what those are, and to be coached by them. And I was reminded how important some of this stuff was when I coach my son's rec league basketball team. And the last game we were at, we weren't getting completely crushed, but we were losing. And the team wasn't happy. And one of the players, they're 13 years old, he sits down on the bench and he's like, and he turns to me, he's like, "Coach, what do you recommend? What should we do? Like, what are we doing wrong?"
Right.
And I thought, man, what an astute kid.
Yeah.
to be asking those types of questions. And I thought about it in the context of enablement, and being proactive, taking a proactive approach on an enablement front, and being able to come to the frontline managers with a story to tell that's that's obviously not, to your point, like, we're not trying to beat them down or talk about how horrible they are at these different areas, but when we position it in a way that translates to, like, look, our goal here is to make you successful, and to make the most money you can, and to be recognized in front of your peers, and all these things that sales reps really care about. Then it's just a little bit of a reframing, taking it away from like, hey, this is something the CRO is mandating that you do, so you have to do it.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
So
I love that.
The shift. Yeah,
I think that's amazing. Well, Nick, where can folks find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I try to follow all the enablement thought leaders, and all the practitioners locally and otherwise. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Nick Salas, Salas. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it, Nick. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Anytime. We would love to have you back. It sounds like you're doing some amazing things, and your organization is better for it at the end of the day. So
sure trying.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is every time I turn around, I just see people giving everything they have to what they're doing at that particular moment. And it's so amazing to see, right? Just the quality of work and just things of that nature. So it just warms my heart. It's amazing. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're so excited. And I'm looking at our schedule. We have Nick with us today. Next week, we have Darren Lauda joining us from Outset Ops, forecasting and insights made easy. So no joke, you should all tune in for that one. We appreciate it. Hope everybody has a wonderful Valentine's Day, and we'll talk with you soon. Thanks again, Nick.
Thank you.